All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending and listening to this panel discussion about Black Women Payday and student loan debt. My name is Summer Lawley. I am the regional coordinator with 1,000 Women Strong. 1,000 Women Strong is an organization that is Black women led. We provide resources, do campaigns, and recruit and train Black women and all things that intersect all of the ways that society intersects with Black women. Right now, my job as regional outreach manager is to talk about student loan debt. Black women are the most educated population, yet we hold the most student loan debt. And I am talking to women all across the Southwest. My region covers Texas, Oklahoma, and that's who we have representing right now, Texas and Oklahoma, but I do Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Kansas, and Missouri as well. And so I'm trying to find as many Black women, get them to sign our petition to cancel $50,000 worth of student loan debt. And that's the average amount of student loans that Black women hold. So today, Tuesday, August 3rd, is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. Black women earn 53 cents for every dollar a white man earns. And that, inequity, that pay inequity, it affects everything. So today we'll be talking about, and during all of our town halls, we're talking about student loan debt. And student loan debt is much more than an extra payment a month. It affects, so many other avenues in Black women's lives and livelihoods. And so we're going to be talking about that today. Today I have a very esteemed panel that I'm very excited about discussing student loan debt with. I'm going to let my wonderful panel introduce yourself. So if you can give me your name, your organization, if you're affiliated with an organization, a little about yourself, a little bit about your organization, and if you can just say yes or no, I do have student loan debt. You don't have to tell me that much, but this is all about our stories. So let's start with Shalandra. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Shalandra Harrison. I am in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I am a consultant and I am currently working with an organization called Sally's List. It is an organization that recruits and trains progressive women to run for office in Oklahoma. I do have student loan debt. I'm glad that I announced the amount.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Latrice, would you like to go?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was waiting. I thought she had more to say. Good afternoon, or my name's Latrice Cook. Let me just start out by saying, yes, I have student loan debt. Get that out of the way. I am the founder and executive director for an organization called MELD Center in Austin in Central Texas area. We are a resource provider, a direct resource provider for people who have previously been incarcerated and their families. And I am also a radio talk show host. I have a show called Iron Sharpens Iron that's on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. KAZI 88.7 FM. And I feel so honored to be a part of this conversation. Don't know what all I have to contribute, but just very honored to be a part of it. And I'm a native Chicagoan and just stuck in Texas for all the wrong reasons, I guess. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being on. I didn't know about your radio show. I'm going to have to catch it.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yes.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Michelle?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Anderson. I am the policy associate for the AFIA Center. We are a Black-owned, Black-led by Black women reproductive justice organization. Our goal or our mission is to transform the sexual reproductive relationship of women and girls to address systemic oppression or reproductive oppression. And so, and hell yeah, I have a lot of student debt. Yes.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You know, again, like I said, today is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. It takes us till 2 days. So that's about 215 days extra to get what a white man gets just for being a white man. And, you know, ain't that something, you know, 63 cents to the dollar. And, you know, we're talking about student loan debt here, and it's just like, how can we pay for student loan debt, even our just daily bills, when we're doing the same work as the white man and we're getting paid that much less? And I'll just begin with this kind of visceral, emotional question. You know, how does that make you feel that you're getting paid, you know, that much lower than an average white man?
I think that's insane. Again, I know we were talking like prior to coming on, you know, we're having a conversation. Like I can't even afford to do some of the things I need to do because of my pay. I even, like I said, I went to the dentist. I didn't know I still fell below the poverty line. I thought I was doing good. No, I still fell below the poverty line. So that means I got the services that I needed to get, you know, for my own health care. But it's a travesty that I have to work twice as hard, run myself in the ground, and will never catch up until the day I die, having to chase a dollar to be able to take care of myself and my family when I need to. So yes, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. It's maddening because, you know, we, especially, I think, as a millennial, we were taught, go to college. This is the way. If you go to college, you will earn this. There was no number, but it was like some magical number that you would earn, that you would just live worry-free. And to know that despite all of the obstacles we've had to overcome as women, as Black women, to get to where we are, and it's still not enough, and not because our work isn't worthy, but because we are Black women. That makes me very upset.
Well, I just have to chime in. This is, you know, as a person who is a founder for a nonprofit, majority of what we, you know, my biggest job is to go get money. I tell people that I've learned to be a professional beggar. And so what you recognize is that in the seat that I sit in is that it's a competitive process. And as a Black founder for this type of nonprofit, one, it's prison is designed for Black people in many people's mind that have the purse to give us funding. And for those people who are funders, they look at a Black female that's coming to get the purse, and you are already reduced coming in as a Black female asking for dollars from white foundations or grants or whatever it is. And it's impossible to be able to even run an organization with minimal funding, and they recognize it. So there may be a white female the same age as I am, you know, parents of millennials, and they will be able to obtain $100,000 grant, whereas they feel that I am only worthy for my organization to get $10,000. So it's really, and we may have the same academic credentials. We may even have the same business credential, credit credential. However, we're still limited on what they will give us, bringing them a cause that is probably more justifiable even than fees. So they even limit how they give us money. They value feeding the swans more than they do human life, and especially Black.
Yes, very well said, y'all. Like I completely agree with what everyone said. And, Black women, we are providers, and we have families to take care
Yes.
of. And, like Shalandra said, we were told that college was, kind of
Yes.
be like the great equalizer almost. And, we would get the job and be worry free. And, we might get the job, but we're getting paid significantly less. And it's almost unfair because, let's ask Latrice, probably knows very well, there's also, the school to prison pipeline and things like that. So, it's kind of like, what are your choices? It's to, do well in high school and in college, or just, find yourself entangled in the, in a system that, is seeking to capture and, imprison Black bodies. So I guess, just like when you were signing up for student loans, did you think, man, I might not be able to pay this off, or did you kind of believe in the American dream?
I want to add to that, because no, you don't. I mean, student loan debt is almost like a prison sentence, because the reality of it is that you really don't know what you're signing up. People think, oh, well, this is going to be okay. I'll get a forbearance, not recognizing that, basically you're living the time of your prison sentence. There's no parole in this process. It's intentional for us to believe as that it's been put on us as Black people, but this is our way out by obtaining more education. And you still have people that have gotten their master's degree and their doctorate degree that still are at a lower pay base than some white counterpart that may just have an associate's degree. And then just the debt of the loans, carrying that, it confines you as a person. It affects your health, worrying about debt. It's just so many cycles of horrific things that happen to us as women, and holding on to it has a continual effect in every area of our lives, from health to just our well-being, financially, and so on and so forth. So I just think it's a small prison sentence.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I never considered, what life would be like on the other side of college with this amount of debt. That whole conversation that you have when you're taking out loans is like, okay, you will have to pay this back. You get this 6-month grace period, and you think, okay, I graduate from college. Of course, I'll find a job within 6 months because I have a degree now, and I will surely be able to pay my monthly payment, which then you get that monthly payment and it's hundreds of dollars a month. And on top of that, you don't necessarily have the highest paying job because you're entry level. So I just think that the education is not there when you're taking out the loan, but then also that real life, what it's like when you have this amount of debt. I mean, I definitely couldn't imagine what it would be like on the other side.
Right. And my concern was exactly like Shalandra's, you got to pay this back. And hopefully I find a job that will afford me the ability to do that. But in the back of my mind, I was like, thinking about why, if I get this monies, right, will I be getting what I need to get to be able to even finish school? So I find myself thinking that as a Black woman, and they looking at my credit and they looking at my taxes and all this stuff like that, are they going to allow me the benefit of having money to pay for classes so that I can benefit in the long run? Or are they giving this a certain amount of money to me to influence how many times I continue to apply for student loans? you know, and so that was always in the back of my mind. Like I said, this is some trickery, you know, you know, like literally, I'm like, you know, I know all this is like, what do you call it? I know that the undercurrent of all this is capitalism. And I know that like Latrice said, it is slavery. It is like, I'm like in this thing and I'm not gonna be able to see my way out of it. So I had to negotiate with myself. Yes, do I need to get this loan so I can better myself? Yeah, but do I want to be tied to this loan for the rest of my life? You know, and still maybe not be able to go into the field that I needed to go in. Because guess what? I ended up not going into the field that I needed to go in. And now I have all this debt, you know, that right now that I can't even afford to pay back.
Yes, it does seem like trickery, like, and it does seem like, you know, just, you know, we've all, you know, gotten this college degree, yes, but how can we pay back those loans if we're not making the money? Right. Just straight up not making the money. How can we do that? And then you're like, hey, you know, especially Black women, we're the most educated population, and you have to wonder why. And you wonder why. It's because we're amazing, number one, but number two, it's because we are literally forced to. Like me, for example, you know, I've been considering getting a master's and a JD, and, you know, being a Black lawyer, but I've actually made the hard decision to say no to more student loan debt. I just simply cannot afford it, and be able to, you know, get a house, start a family, and do all of those things. I put off starting a family thinking that, you know, I need to, you know, catch up on these bills. But in the reality, the interest is outrageous. And so it's almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And so it's, you know, I would call it even a pay to play, you know, type deal where, you know, they're like, oh, you want to play? Well, go back to school. And, you know, we do go back to school, and where are we? And, you know, so it's just like, you know, we've talked about the American dream, you know, and things like that. Did you really, really know that, did you fully acknowledge that, you know, the white male sitting next to you, you always, you know, hung over, would still easily just make more than you?
All the time. All the time.
I definitely didn't think about the pay disparity when I was in college. That wasn't a conversation anyone around me was having. So I'm thinking we're all gonna make the amount that we should make with the level of experience or education that we have, you know, and I know that might sound very naive, but like I said, that conversation about the difference in pay was not, I guess I kind of knew deep down that there was like maybe a pay gap between men and women, but not necessarily like we're breaking it down even more by, you know, your race or your ethnicity. So, I mean, I definitely did not have that conversation with anyone around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like you were it was kind of whispered about, you know, these, you know, this pay inequities, but, you know, you almost had to do it. It's just you were just kind of forced into these loans for the promise of a better life. And, you know, do you think what has it, you know, affected about your life? I know, Michelle, you spoke about, you know, paying having to put off starting a family. You know, have your student loans affected you? And how do you think it affects other Black women, Black families?
You know, when we look at student loan debt, it does impact how we, you know, where we live, you know, where we shop, when we want to have children, you know, it impacts, you know, what kind of family that I dream of having, and it impacts the way Black women access healthcare during planning, family planning, because we know right now that Black women suffer from maternal mortality 3 times the rate as white women. And so, and a lot of it is due to implicit bias. And here's the thing, student loan debt and how it impacts, or how student loan debt, and then we talked about the pay equity impacts how the Black woman is going to be treated in the hospital. So because again, if I come in there without no insurance, I'm probably gonna get that doctor that ain't gonna really understand what's going on with me. And I'm trying to tell him, hey, this hurt, I need this and this and this, and he's not gonna listen to me. Right? But then in the same breath, I can have all this information and be like Serena Williams, and they still not listen to me because I'm fully able to take care of myself, right? And so when we're looking at student loan debt, and me having been in this hospital, having to worry about, first of all, if I'm going to make it out alive. Number 2, if I'm going to be able to afford to take care of this baby, because I also have other stuff that I have to take care of, especially student loan debt. And then what the quality of life is going to be like for me and my family because of student loan debt, because of credit, because of work, all these things that for Black women, it negotiates how we access full bodily autonomy and those places in which to have them. And so, yes.
Yeah, that definitely. Yeah, you mentioned, Serena Williams, and, it doesn't even matter the implicit bias that's in, medical, just in,
Yes.
just medicine in general. It's real, and you can't pay your way out of it. And it's, the lack of Black doctors,
Yes.
who are writing papers, or even they have the NFL, the recent stories about the NFL concussions and stuff like that, where, there was, I can't remember what they call it, but, they were, they made it harder for Black players to kind of, say that they have been concussed, and, they need medical help, and, just and pay out for it. So
right, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and how we get that kind of access, because my access is going to look different from my white counterparts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to say it's just like us going in and maybe, I'm having issues with fibroids. Most Black women have issues with fibroids, right? And so they actually have something to dissolve fibroids. But for white women, they get that information. For Black women, oh, you get a hysterectomy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, again, how am I going to access healthcare in a way that I can still get what I need and still take care of myself? Because if I can't afford health insurance based off of how much I'm getting paid, I sure as hell ain't gonna be able to afford to be able to pay out of pocket. It's just not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And it's pretty scary to think about, like, the lack of Black doctors, Black lawyers,
Yes.
Black teachers. It's scary, and it's dangerous to our families.
Very much so.
We were talking a little bit before we started this panel. I saw a picture of the incoming teachers with Fort Worth ISD here in Dallas, Texas area. Fort Worth is own city. They're going to be getting mad at me for lumping it in with Dallas. But just even, you need a college degree to be a public school teacher here in Texas. And me seeing the very, very, very low percentage of Black teachers was really concerning. The masks too, they weren't wearing masks. But yes, and you think about it, it affects kind of, the school to prison pipeline, the detentions in the ISS, and things like that. And, do you, like, an awkward question asked, but, do you think the pay inequity, the student loan debt, do you think it's dangerous for Black women and their families? Yes. for sure.
Well, I just believe that, like, we're focused a lot on definitely on women, but I just want to kind of go back and talk about just how even for Black men, especially our young men who have been told the same myth that once you obtain your degree, other doors will open. This was the American dream, and how it was really kind of a not unheard or unspoken promise from corporations to Black men, young men, to obtain this degree, and you can get it in within our companies or in government. And you find that there are a lot of young Black men from 35, down, who have not been able to obtain jobs in the degree field, in the field in which they obtained their degree, which in many senses does incite some type of feeling that you are not good enough, which then feeds into the situation of, well, if I'm not good enough after obtaining what you said is almost a promise of being able to walk inside your doors, then I will take what I need in order to in order to feel good enough, which is why sometimes crimes are committed. And it's because of disappointments and things that we have been promised by a system of the educational system, and recognizing that you've done what your parents or your grandparents or whatever have said is going to give you a piece of the American pie, male or female, Black, and that doesn't come to fruition. And then you're hung with all this debt. The emotional drain that happens to people when they find out that they're stuck with $60,000+ with interest of debt, carrying that when you got a job after staying in school for 6 years to obtain these degrees and then make barely $40,000, when white Joe over here, that just got out of high school again with maybe associates, it's making more than a college degree, Black, female, or male. I mean, it's angry. I also wanted to just bring up about the man here in Austin who satisfied debt at the university. I think it was, I can't remember what that in Georgia, where he paid all of the debt that was owed by that particular class, and how this man has always been making all of this money this whole time. And after he satisfied that debt at that HBCU, how they ended up putting him in an investigation, almost indicting him and sending him to prison. I'm talking about Robert Smith now, because he had satisfied the debt of that graduate class. I mean, we can't do anything and be equal. We can't even pay off debt because we're a billionaire and can afford to do it and still be treated equal. After all this time of this man doing business over 20 years, and he's in Austin again, as I said, after all this time, he didn't even come under the radar screen to even be indicted and having to pay all this money back until he made the decision to pay the debt of that HBCU's class. And I think it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. Insidious, just kind of the pressure that, we put upon ourselves to succeed, and, the stress outcomes that happen, the health outcomes. I, for example, I have gotten stressed and, have to take time off work. Luckily I could, but not everyone could do that. And the health outcomes, going to doctors, and kind of being, brushed off because, they didn't, feel my pain. They didn't think that me as a Black woman could be depressed, and things like that. It's just, really insidious, and it's pretty, just disheartening. And, I think as we're talking about Black Women Equal Pay Day, and we're talking about, getting paid less than our colleagues, I found out a couple of years ago that a white male with absolutely zero experience was getting paid more than my 8 to 9 years of experience at the time. And, that just really, 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 I just kind of, it really affected me. And it's just like, that's not what they told me that would happen, when I went to college. I went to college, being like, almost, being like, I'm the example, because I went to a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and just being like, they're going to learn something today because I'm smarter than most of y'all, I'm brighter than most of y'all, and just, the microaggressions that we face every day is real, and it really affects our health outcomes. It affects, imposter syndrome. Even when we are qualified for these jobs, getting rejected for, for enough times over, your white counterparts, you start to kind of believe that, you are not worthy to be in some of these spaces that we're in. And it's just not the case. We are extra, ready to be in these spaces. And Black women who have the most education out of all of us, we should be balling. Like, we should be just making it rain, but we're not. We're counting our change because, it's just the system was never intended for us to enter. And if it was, we got to pay up.
I think we bought into the lie. A lot of it has to do with proximity, because a lot of us have we do have some privilege of where we grew up what opportunities we were able to access based off of my family and everything. Come from a well-to-do family. And so my assumption is that I was going to be treated as such because of where I come from, like what school I access and all those things. I think what happens to us when we realize, especially Black women, that our privilege ends at a certain point. And it ends when we graduate from college. It ends, and not so much so as our Black men. They still have a level of privilege. They still, because they're men, they're able to access. They have access to better pay as well, only because they're men, right? And stuff. But it may not be as much as the white man, but they still get paid more than Black women. Right. Mm-hmm. And so no matter how much education we have, no matter what school we come from or whatever, Black women will not be able to make the money that we deserve because we've got to start dismantling those systems of racism that allow that to be. And part of that is having conversations like this. Pay equity is a real thing. It is a whole thing, and for Black women, we need to be able to share these experiences, but also put some of this stuff into action. We need to start talking to lawmakers. We need to have conversations around voting, because it's funny. All this stuff is happening, pay equity, you've got all the voter legislations, the abortion access, the reform, all that is for a reason. It's not by coincidence, it's not by happenstance, it's all by design. Because at the end of the day, our Blackness is not going to allow us to get ahead because of these systems of racism.
Yeah, definitely. It's really, disheartening just to even, think that, it's just like, we're very aware that we are Black women, but when we were going to school, working so hard, we weren't thinking that we were going to be getting that 63 cents to that dollar, and it's just, it's just not fair, you know, to not, yeah. And so I guess, you know, if our goal here at 1,000 Women Strong is to gather over 100,000 Black women petition signatures from everyone in general, but particularly Black women, so that we can cancel $50,000 worth of student loan debt. That is, on average, the amount of student loan debt that Black women earn. You know, how would canceling student loan debt affect you?
Well, for me, that would wipe out my student loan debt. And so that would have a major impact on my life. While I was in college, I did have my son. So the amount of loans I took out increased during that time period. I didn't have a choice. But I feel the weight of that all the time. I want to buy a house, but I have all this debt. We were talking about dental work. I had to get a credit card to pay for that. And that was a concern to me because I already have plenty of debt. It impacts all of the things that we need to live, to have a vehicle, to get to work, you know, when you're going in to buy a car. And I mean, just, it would have it would be a weight lifted to have this debt removed from my life.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
Almost
cancel it now. Like, and I think earlier, Michelle, you talked about, you know, talking about going to, you know, your representative's office and telling them about student loan debt, you know, talking to your friends and family about your student loan debt. But me, you know, I've, you know, done like union organizing, tried to start unions in my own workplaces, and talking about money is so hard. It's so difficult, and it's almost taboo. And I think that, you know, society makes it taboo as part of this, you know, capitalist, you know, society. If we hadn't have been talking about how much each other were getting paid, I wouldn't have found out that this white male was making a lot more than me, or a significant amount more than me. And probably thinking back on it, it was probably exactly 63 cents on that dollar. You know, I've always, you know, been in just kind of, you know, these activist spaces where I'm trying to get people to talk, but getting people to talk about money is really hard. And getting people to admit that they're in debt, that, you know, that, you know, month to month is a struggle is really hard. You know, canceling $50K in student loan debt would free up so much. And also, you know, going back to the Black doctors, the Black teachers, the Black lawyers, and things like that, I know if, you know, I have to make a hard decision to say no to grad school, that other Black women are. So yeah, just how does that make you feel? And, you know, what other hard decisions do you think Black women like us, college educated, or even, you know, there are people who dropped out of college as well and still have that debt?
I decided not to go on, even though I wanted to actually go back, you know, and change my degree and do something different. And I decided against it because, hell, I'm 51 years old. You know, my debt is going to outlive me probably. You know, and so that is not going to happen for me. And right now I'm trying to get my credit right, because, you know, you reach a certain age where you got that credit got to be right, because see, there's some things I'm gonna need. Like, I know I can't take credit with me when I go, but I like to know that I have good credit. You know, that in case I want something, I can go get it, you know, and stuff. And so this student loan has kept me from getting a new car. Something as simple as that. This student, where like the apartment that I'm living in now, I had to pay like 3 times the amount deposit. Like my deposit, like $600-700 because of my credit. It wasn't the, you know what I'm saying? I also, there how I going to the dentist when it costs $28,000 for my teeth to get fixed. Oh, but you can call this credit care right here. I said, no, I ain't gonna get it because I got that student loan. It ain't gonna happen. They're not gonna qualify me for that. And so I have to walk around with my mouth hurting because I can't afford it because my insurance only pays for so much and then the rest is out of pocket. Well, I don't make enough money to get my teeth fixed. So, you know, so it's just having, like I said, like you said before, having these conversations, not be ashamed that I'm broke, because Black folks are more than likely to be broke. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how much you make, we broke. You know, we need to really have these conversations, you know, remove the taboo, you know, and there is a reason why folks are not talking about how much this person make, how much, because they don't want us to. Because if we start talking about it, we become aware. When we become aware, we're more likely to do something about it. Because like I said, when you have knowledge, right, you're going to do something about it. And that's not what they want to see happen. You know, they don't want Black folks or anybody to ruffle any feathers, right? And so being quiet about it allows them the ability to continue to push this agenda of making sure that white folks stay in white supremacy and Black folks will always be in a place where we have to ask for help. It's intentional. It is not just something that, oh, it just is. No, it's intentional. You keep us poor, less likely we'll vote, less likely we'll have access to healthcare and all this stuff. Yeah, it's for me a whole lot more than just, you know, debt. It's a whole lot more. All that is intersectional, all of it. It's hand in hand.
But I think also we as Black people, we have to understand that, you know, we are some of the biggest consumers of all races, I feel, because we have this big thing about being perceived as the person that drives a Mercedes or has a Fendi bag or the Nike sneaks or whatever. You know, our value of what we need to do with the dollar too is kind of a burn up in our, you know, just culturally, we haven't been taught how to really value and maximize our dollar towards, you know, paying things out and off as opposed to carrying debt. And then we don't want to talk about it. Money is a hard thing to talk about for Black people. But as a person who goes out and that's all I talk about, I mean, when I go into my white colleagues' offices or whatever, I'm coming there for money. And so I have no problem talking about money. And I have no problem letting a person know that I'm in some form of suffrage in order to get forward. Even me talking amongst my brothers and my sisters that look like me, talking about, I don't care what I pull up in, I have debt just like you have debt. And you know, and you don't know whether my car is getting ready to get pulled out when I come out, you don't know what a person's financial condition is just by appearance, but that's because we don't want to talk about it, because we don't want to be perceived after coming up in whatever we're driving or wearing or whatever. We don't want to be perceived amongst our peers and our colleagues that look like us as less than, when in actuality, until we really start having real conversations and being real, period, we'll never see advancement in anything. I mean, that's just what it is. I feel like that us getting into student loan debt and stuff like that, or it's an intentional thing. It's not an intentional for us to get in it, but the way the loan system is designed is to keep us impoverished and with a noose around our neck, having to work harder, having to more stress and stuff, because that is the American way, and surely the American way for the Black person to have to deal with in a Black woman who really, as Black women, we carry a lot more weight even than our Black men do, because we're nurturers by, you know, by who we are. We're formulated as nurturers. And so I feel like, no, I know that money is a hard thing to talk about, especially when it comes to us being in debt, but it is a conversation that must happen in a way that we need to talk about it so we can educate each other to eliminate not just student loan debt, but debt period that we carry, because society says if you carry a Fendi bag, 9 times out of 10, you got Fendi money in it when maybe all you have is 25 cents. So I feel like this whole thing, the whole perception of the getting educated and all these type of things, they're important for us to even talk about now, if it's worth obtaining that extra piece of paper and bearing this type of debt and still not being able to be in a position of equality or equity, not only in title, but in dollars as well. You know, does it make sense now to encourage your kids or your grandkids or whatever to go ahead and get that extra piece of paper? And in reality, many people don't even get to work in their field that they went to school for. And if they do, they're paid so much minimal compared to their white counterparts. Is it really worth it?
Yeah, for sure. And I will say that, you know, they tend to educate us about the loans that we were taking on purpose when we signed those documents and took out those loans. And then, you know, us, as a people, people always, want to, say that, Black women are Black women, Black men are spending their money wrong, and maybe if they saved and invested or did something like that they would get out of debt. But the reality is, we have to, that's one of the things that we learn almost as children, is that we have to keep up appearances. We have to, not act like we're broke. We have to, look good to function in this society, because, more is expected of us. And, that's kind of brings me to the, my final questions are, what are we going to tell the next generation? Gen X is already in college right now, but what will we tell these youngsters, these people in 8th, 9th, 10th grade, about college? Well, what would you say to them? Because it's almost, like we said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So what are we telling this next generation? It's a hard question.
that is a hard question. Honestly, you're thinking about like, ooh, I think that, it's hard to even have a conversation with our children about, the dream is I want you to do better than me. I want you to make better decisions. I want you to be able to have all the things you need in your life, and what does that mean? That does mean that you're going to have to go to school sometimes. We just got to go to school and understand that if we go to school, we're going to incur debt, right? And stuff. And it's just funny because we also need to have the conversation, like if I'm going to school and I'm in a situation where all my needs are not being met, and I'm going to school to help that, to get what I need to negotiate that. But in the meantime, while I'm in school, I'm gonna need to take out this loan because this loan will help me get from point A to point B to point C while I'm in school, because I got to take off school off of work to kind of take these classes. So that money is going to be kind of help the bridge the gap between, you know, so I can eat and all this stuff like that, right? And so we have to have real conversations, I think, with our kids, but more importantly, understand that when we are deciding on how we're going to access education, we need to also put down what is our benefit from it? What is the long-term goal in this? How are you going to achieve this? Is there another way that we can do this work? We can go to school and not have to incur so much. That's crazy. We have to have this conversation with our kids when it should be where everybody should be able to go and be able to afford to go to school and to be able to make the money that we need. Like, I don't even know how to really answer that question, because in my mind, I'm like, this is some bull. Like, what's what I really want to say. I just, like, what am I going to tell my kids? I can't lie to them. Look, you go to school, you're going to be in debt. What you going to do to get out of it? There is no way of getting around it. Like, literally, there's no way of getting around it. You know, I don't know what to say. That is a really hard question. I thought I was going to have the right answer, but now I'm going to come back. I ain't got nothing for you. I'm sorry. I ain't got nothing for you. Well, other than not lie to my kids, baby, you about to be broke.
I was going to say, I definitely knew I didn't have an answer for that. So I was like, I'll let somebody else go first.
Try this, Shalon.
I appreciate that. I did learn some stuff, but that is another impact of having this debt, is that you can't even properly prepare for your child to go to school, you know? And my son, I have, you know, some time before he goes to school. In my mind, that's his next step. You know, we haven't talked about any other options other than him going to college, the things that he's interested in. Fortunately, I think that if that doesn't change, he might not necessarily need to go to college, but the whole college experience is so like I mean, you can't get it anywhere else, right? So it's like, I want him to have those experiences, but I'm like, the things you want to do, can you do it now? So then you have money. You can help fund this. So yeah, right. That's hard.
And I don't want to even push it on the children to even go to school on a scholarship. Like, that's what we're looking at, so that they won't have that. Like, are we going to push our children to be a part of sports just so they can get a scholarship, so they can go to school? You know, those are like that. Like, I just don't have the answer to that. I really don't.
Things that when I was in my previous employment, not most recently, but years ago, I used to work for a company. I actually worked for a life insurance company. And one thing that I saw a lot of white families doing, and that familiar with at that time, was when people were purchasing whole life policies and cash surrendering those policies to pay for their children's college. Prudential Life Insurance was one of the companies at the time that was really promoting whole life policies. And I watched people cash surrender maybe a $50,000 and still keep $10,000 on it, but cash surrender college education. You know, I'm old, a lot, the majority of you all on here, but I'm telling you that I watch this. I watch how they prepared to not have to put their own.
Yeah, Latrice, you're cutting off a little for me. She's completely frozen for me. Same for y'all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she froze. Can I say something to that? She's one of the things is that Black folks can't really afford life insurance, right? And so life insurance is a privilege. to have. And then some black folks are sometimes eliminated from being able to buy the insurance policy because of pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have all this stuff that's challenges and barriers to us being able to access these things so that we can have some form of quality of life, including, getting rid of debt, which you'll never be able to get rid of.
Yeah. And yes, I mean, isn't that what we're going to college for? Access to a better job, access to the American dream. That's all we want. We just want to be able to, live peacefully, pay bills, and watch our children grow and do the same thing.
And buy my Fendi bag.
Yeah, and look good while doing it, because we can.
Listen, that made me think of my dad. I asked him for a Chanel bag one year for Christmas, and he was like, "Why you want that bag? You can't put $10 in it."
Really though.
I was like,
okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's okay. I got my 2 cents, my 2 coins,
right?
And I'm going to put them in my bag. But you know what? That also goes to the fact that for Black folk, the reason why that happens, we have to look better. We have to be all these things so that we can have access. Have you ever showed up at a job where you dressed from the nines going for an interview? We have to go the extra step every single time because we have to show up before our Blackness does. Every single time, right? And so we do come in with the Fendi bag. We do come in making sure our shoes ain't stuffed up. We do come in looking colonized because that's how I can't walk up in there like this. We have to look a certain way in order to get that job and still won't make as much money as our counterparts. Period.
Yeah, exactly. And people like to just scoff at that. Oh, but you're driving that that Mercedes, but you're carrying that Gucci purse or whatever. But it's just like, I have to do this. I'm doing this to survive, and that's something that we are trying to do. That's it. We're just trying to survive. And yes, we've hit the time limit, but I do want to add that. Again, we have that petition, cancel 50K worth of student loan debt. Cancel 50K studentloandebt.com is our .org is actually the website to go to. And we do have to start having these tough conversations about money. And as a labor organizer for many years, I know how hard it is to talk about money. But once y'all start talking about it and you get that knowledge of the inequities that are really happening, things will start to happen because people will start standing up, and they don't want that. So thank y'all for coming on, this Zoom here and talking about money and things like that. So I am actually going to stop recording and stop this conference, but I really, really thank y'all. Latrice was having technical difficulties and had to hop off. But thank you, Shalondra. Thank you, Michelle. Beautiful, beautiful points about, student loan debt. And sometimes, it is awkward. It is scary to talk about money. So I really appreciate y'all. I'm going to hit record, but thank y'all all. We'll put up this conversation up on our social media and send you the link. So I'm stopping the recording.